Welcome, beautiful, to the Creating Change podcast with Emma Bradford. Creating change to fall back in love with ourselves and life. Each episode, I'll be offering insightful stories, concepts, and practical takeaways to inspire your day, reconnecting to the authentic essence within. Are you ready, lovely, to embrace yourself even more and awaken to the magic life has to offer? Let's dive into today's episode. Hello and welcome to another episode of Creating Change with Emma Bradford. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's wonderful to have you here. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Now, over the years, I've been exploring a lot about the feminine energy. You may have heard me talk about masculine, feminine energies. Those of you who have been on the Creating Change training will have explored these a little bit. And this has nothing to do with genders. This is everything to do with the two polarities, like the polarities of energy that we have within the whole universe and within everything, that expansion and that going in within that I've spoken about in previous podcasts. And the masculine energy and the feminine energy, they also have polarities within themselves too. Often there is this perspective that the masculine is only one way and the feminine is only another way. No, actually within themselves, they have polarities within. There are different ways that they can express that energy. And I use the word energy as just to make it a little simpler to understand, though really the masculine is all about the consciousness and the awareness, and the feminine is about the energy that runs through that is being witnessed by that awareness. And every single person, no matter what gender we identify ourselves as, or whether we consider ourselves as non-binary, or however we see ourselves and view ourselves, every single person has these polarities, these energies within. This is what makes up human beings on the energetic level. In this episode, I want to talk more about the feminine energy. And I've been exploring this a lot. I've been really diving into all the different mythical goddesses and stories and archetypes, feminine archetypes as well. This is very fun to dance to as well, is really like choosing music related to different archetypes. Recently, I had a gathering with a few friends in a women's circle, and we danced the different feminine archetypes. And there are so many. We only chose 4 for this particular dance, and we were dancing the expression of the maiden, the mother, the wild woman, and the wise woman. So there are many different names for these particular archetypes. Sometimes the wise woman is called the crone. Sometimes the wild woman is called the mystic. There are many different ways to describe these archetypes. And these 4 archetypes are linked in with the cycles of menstruation. So those of you who have menstruations, those of you who bleed every month, that the maiden, that is when you've just finished and you're moving into your internal spring energy and you're really connecting to this lightness. It's like, lightness, energy. There's more energy to do things, to be active. And then that moves into the mother energy. So the summer, that is around the time of ovulation, where there's this generosity and this openness and this desire to give and nurture both ourselves and others. And then we move into the internal autumn, which is that time, that premenstrual time, where perhaps there are a few more emotions arising, a bit more tension. Perhaps we're feeling a little bit more of that sacred anger coming up and really feeling that wild woman energy. The wild woman has no authority over her. She lives according to her own heartbeat and what feels good for her. She's really this wonderful, wild, chaotic, messy, expressive archetype. And then the time of the bleed, that is the crone, the wise woman. That's the time of going inwards. This is the internal winter. Really slowing things down and going inwards and being with ourselves. There's so much more. I could share so much more about the feminine energy and all these different archetypes. This is literally just like a tiny, tiny little grain of sand of what can be shared. And there are so many amazing books out there and trainings, and we cover a little bit on creating change. And there are also many other teachers and practitioners that dive into this also. It's such an amazing topic for women, and also anyone who identifies with the feminine energy as a prominent energy, or anyone who really just wants to explore it further or develop their feminine energy further within themselves. Perhaps you feel like you've been too much in that doing, and achieving, goal setting, and really like just lots of action, goal orientated action, and not having the time to really slow down and move into the flowing, the being, the creativity, the intuition. Now, there are a few common misconceptions about the feminine energy, and also a few things that I've learned, especially this year recently, like through my own personal challenges, and also just by diving into all of these different archetypes and really paying attention to the natural cycles of the feminine energy within. So one of those things, and I wrote a post about this a while back, which is really talking about how the feminine energy, so this is the motions, the energy that moves through us. These emotions, they will arise when they want, how they want. The feminine energy will arise when she wants, how she wants. This is not something that we're meant to put in a box and contain and just tell her, okay, you can only pop up when I tell you to. That's not the way that the feminine energy wants to live, that wants to be expressed. Like she just wants to flow and express herself how she wants, when she wants. So using this perspective, this analogy is looking at, okay, how am I treating my emotions? These emotions that arise, do I suddenly shut them down, suppress them, avoid them, tell myself, oh, now's not a good time to cry, or now's not a good time to bring it up, I shouldn't be feeling this way? Do we suppress the feminine energy within ourselves? Do we shut her down and tell her that she's not welcomed? Do we silence her? Now, for people who have had a history of being silenced, this can be a very painful thing to do. And to start changing this and shifting this within ourselves can be a really powerful thing that we do. We start listening to our emotions, we start giving voice to our emotions, and we start allowing those emotions to come up in a constructive way and be expressed in a constructive way as they come up, not to suppress them, avoid them, and hide them, and shame them, and blame them, and judge them, and say, oh, you'll be much better expressing it in this way, or at that time, or you should have expressed it at this time, or like that, or like this. The feminine energy is not there to be shamed and blamed and judged. She wants to express herself how she wants, when she wants. And another thing I realized through my personal exploration and diving into all these different archetypes and the feminine energy is that her closing is sacred too. So often in spiritual communities, tantric communities, many different modalities and practices and methodologies, sometimes there's this perspective that the feminine is only in her feminine when they are opening up and really opening up and expressing what lies within. Now, I find this perspective not the most healthiest perspective to hold on to. Yes, much of the feminine energy is that opening, it is that giving, that offering. And her closing is sacred too. Her going in within is sacred too. If we look to nature, there are all flavours. There are all aspects of this expression of energy. Energy can be expressed moving outwards, and also it then goes back within. There's this full cycle. And to only look at one part of the cycle and to label the feminine energy as only one part of the cycle, I find a real disservice to the expansiveness of the feminine energy. Her closing is sacred too. Her going in within herself is sacred too. There's this full spectrum. We can have these massive, big emotional expressions that come out. And also there can be the subtlety, there can be the smallest little micro expression of an emotion too. And that's also sacred. That's also part of the feminine. She's a full spectrum. It's like looking at all the colours of the rainbow. Energy can be expressed in so many different ways. So many different ways. And to only view one aspect of how she's expressed or how we want her to be expressed is not to fully appreciate the full entirety of the feminine. So I know I've been talking a lot about these labels, masculine and feminine, and for those of you who are new to this might feel a little bit overwhelming or confusing, and just starting off with looking at the emotions, just start off with noticing, okay, am I shutting my emotions away? Am I avoiding them? Am I suppressing them? Or am I able to really see the emotions as this living energy and pay attention to what messages are coming through those emotions? Can I start really acknowledging that energy, that divine feminine energy, and hear her, listen to her, hold her, be present with her? Am I doing that for myself? So just notice that. And again, it's not about perfection. Intention is far more important. So just set the intention, and allow yourself to make mistakes, slip up, forget. That's all part of being human. I do that too. It's all about the intention, just intending a little bit more, to be a little bit more present with the emotions that arise. Now, just a side note, I view myself as a student too in life. I'm still learning all of this. The masculine and feminine polarities and dynamic is a huge topic, and it's something for continual exploration in this lifelong journey as we go through life, grow through life, and interact with other people through relationship, and also noticing the dynamics within ourselves. So these are just little observations of what I've discovered until now, and perhaps there'll be many more that will pop up over the next few months, years. And I look forward to sharing them with you and continuing this journey of exploration and really diving into the magic that lies within ourselves and life, and as we interact with others. So I'll leave that there. Thank you so much for listening. If you found this useful, then please do share. And I'm wishing you a wonderful rest of the week. Thank you so much for listening to this episode, beautiful. You're amazing. All resources and links can be found on my website, www.emmabradford.net. Link is in the show description. Do come and join my community and share your takeaways from this episode. I'd really love to hear. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. Until next time, I wonder, what magic will you experience in life today?